There is a certain kind of woman who does not need to speak loudly to be noticed. Her presence moves like calm water, steady and unforced, quietly reshaping the space around her. She does not reach outward for validation, and yet attention drifts toward her as naturally as breath. She does not dress with the intention of impressing anyone, yet people feel compelled to turn their gaze when she enters a room. Her attraction is not built on youth or on the surface-level definitions the world often praises. It comes from a deeper place, an inner refinement that time cannot diminish. She carries something far more enduring, an aura born from self-understanding and the patience she has given to her own growth. Her presence is not a performance. It is the expression of someone who has learned to exist from the inside out. This kind of woman may not be the youngest in the room. She may not reflect every shifting trend or every temporary standard that society uses to define beauty. But she carries something far more powerful than that. Her energy is unmistakable. It is the quiet certainty of someone who has walked through her own shadows, someone who has mended herself with her own hands, someone who radiates the strength of a person who has risen after falling. This presence cannot be imitated because it is not learned through imitation. It is shaped through inner work, through self-awareness, through the long practice of listening to oneself honestly. True attraction, the kind that lingers in the mind long after someone leaves the room, does not originate from surface appearances. It emerges from the psyche, from the energy a person carries, from the maturity of their inner world. It is the reflection of how deeply someone knows themselves and how peacefully they inhabit their own being. A mature woman who has lived through experiences that softened and strengthened her, who has healed from wounds that once shaped her reactions, who has learned to see herself clearly, becomes magnetic in a way youth alone cannot reproduce. Think about this for a moment. Why are some women quietly captivating while others strain for attention and still feel invisible? Why do some women carry a grounded confidence that makes others feel drawn to them while others exhaust themselves trying to be noticed? The reason is simple. Men do not desire her simply because of how she looks. They desire her because of what they feel in her presence. Because she awakens something within them. Because her energy shifts the atmosphere without her needing to do anything extraordinary. She becomes a mirror that reflects clarity. She becomes a reminder of something grounded, something steady, something rare. Attraction is often spoken of as if it were luck or chance, but it is neither. Attraction is a discipline, a result of the habits a woman practices daily. These habits determine her aura, her emotional rhythm, and the way she moves through life. They shape her into someone compelling not through effort but through alignment. Someone who does not chase love because love gravitates toward her naturally. Someone who does not try to prove her worth because she already lives from the understanding of it. These habits do not depend on beauty or on age. They depend on awareness, on intention, on the inner architecture of one's character. In this narration, we will uncover 7 habits that shape a mature woman into someone truly irresistible. 7 inner traits that rise above superficial charm and create the kind of presence that is unforgettable. 7 forms of feminine power that any woman can cultivate, no matter what her circumstances may be. And if you stay until the end, you will understand the deepest secret of all, the final habit that transforms attraction from something momentary into something enduring. But before we move forward, take one slow breath. Allow your awareness to settle into your body. Let the mind become calm and receptive. This journey begins not with outward change, but with inner clarity. Now, we begin with the first habit, a habit that separates a woman who tries to be noticed from a woman whose presence naturally commands attention. Confidence before appearance. Before anyone notices the shade of your lipstick, the elegance of your dress, or the details of your hairstyle, they sense something far more subtle and far more powerful, your energy. And the first expression of that energy is confidence. Confidence is the first language the psyche reads, the first signal the mind interprets, the first impression that shapes how others relate to you. It speaks long before you open your mouth and lingers long after your presence has left the space. A confident woman does not need to announce herself. Her presence already carries its own clarity. Confidence becomes visible even when it is not loudly expressed. It shows in her walk, calm and grounded. It shows in her gaze, steady and unafraid. It shows in the way she occupies space without shrinking. She moves with the quiet ease of someone who knows she belongs wherever she stands. Imagine two women entering the same room. One is striking in appearance according to traditional standards, but her shoulders curve slightly inward. Her gaze drops or shifts away from connection. Her steps are careful, uncertain, carrying the weight of invisible self-doubt. The second woman might not match every conventional rule of beauty, but she moves with a gentle firmness. Her back is straight. Her chin rests naturally, neither lifted too high nor lowered too low. Her steps are deliberate, her presence rooted. She looks at the world directly, without tension. She is not loud, but she is unmistakably there. Which of these women captures attention? It is the second, because confidence radiates from the inside out. It does not require permission, it does not require approval. It is the quiet declaration, I know who I am, and this message is unforgettable. Confidence is not born from the absence of insecurity. Every human being carries doubts, fears, inner questions. Confidence grows from the discipline of moving forward despite those uncertainties, from returning to your worth even when life has tried to make you forget it. It is the refusal to shrink yourself to soothe the comfort of others. It is the calm strength of choosing yourself. This is why confidence is magnetic. It is felt. It stirs something in others. When a woman stands firmly in her own presence, she awakens an instinctive response in people. They feel compelled to respect her, to approach her, to pay attention to her. Her presence speaks before her words do. Studies in psychology reveal that people naturally rate individuals who carry self-assurance as more attractive, even when their physical traits are perfectly ordinary. Why? Because confidence shifts perception. It shapes the way others see you and the way you see yourself. It elevates your aura, making you appear brighter, stronger, and more intriguing. So how does a woman cultivate this kind of confidence? First, through posture, the body and mind reflect one another. When you walk with your spine aligned and your chest open, your nervous system shifts into a state of calm authority. You silently declare, I trust myself. And over time, this physical message reshapes your emotional reality. Second, through your voice, a confident woman does not rush. She allows pauses. She speaks with intention, as though each word carries value. Others lean in, not because she demands attention, but because her tone communicates presence. Third, through presence, confidence is not performance. It is the willingness to be fully in your own skin without apology. It is living without constant self-editing, allowing space for your natural expression. This presence draws admiration effortlessly. Fourth, through self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of all confidence. A woman who honors herself through her boundaries, her time, her energy, and her choices naturally exudes confidence because she is rooted in her own worth. And when these elements come together, she does not need to say a word. Her presence already speaks, but confidence is only the beginning. Once this foundation is firm, every other habit begins to rise with it. If you are ready, let us continue to the next habit, one that reshapes the way you relate to connection, one that changes how men perceive you and how you perceive yourself. The power of non-attachment. There is a quiet strength that only a mature woman holds. It is the ability to care deeply without losing herself, the ability to love without clinging, the ability to connect without abandoning her own center. This strength is called non-attachment. It is not coldness. It is not indifference. It is emotional freedom. Non-attachment is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can embody. It transforms her energy, her presence, and her relationships. Most people misunderstand desire. They believe that the more availability they offer, the stronger the bond becomes. But desire is not created through constant presence. Desire thrives in a subtle space between closeness and mystery. When something is always available, the mind stops valuing it. When something must be approached intentionally, the mind awakens. A woman who does not cling awakens this instinct naturally. She does not chase messages. She does not rearrange her day around another person's attention. She does not revolve her emotional world around someone else's choices. Instead, she lives from her own center. And because she does not cling, others feel drawn to her. Non-attachment does not mean lack of interest. It means she understands her worth so deeply that she refuses to hand it over to someone else. It means she allows connection to unfold naturally rather than forcing it. It means she holds her heart with dignity, not fear. This inner stance is magnetic because it is rare. It sends a clear message. I choose connection, but I do not depend on it to feel whole. This is the type of energy that creates genuine desire, because desire cannot breathe inside pressure, but it thrives inside spaciousness. And here, the path of an irresistible woman continues. Because desire cannot breathe inside pressure, but it thrives inside spaciousness. When a woman embodies non-attachment, she does not become distant, she becomes centered. She becomes rooted in her own life, and from that groundedness, she invites connection that is intentional rather than frantic. Others feel this immediately. They sense that she is not trying to grip, not trying to pull, not trying to persuade. Her calm self-possession creates a gentle gravitational pull. It is human nature to move toward what is peaceful, what is balanced, what is whole within itself. A woman practicing non-attachment allows space for truth to reveal itself. If someone drifts away, she does not chase their shadow. She allows the distance to speak. She allows their actions to reflect their priorities. She does not beg for consistency. She simply observes who chooses to show up. This kind of clarity protects her heart without hardening it. It allows her to love without losing her shape. How does one cultivate non-attachment in daily life? First, by returning to oneself. It is easy to place the emotional center of your life into the hands of another. But a woman who remains irresistible keeps that center anchored within her own work, her own passions, her own inner development. When her world is full, she does not grasp. She invites, but she never clings. She gives warmth, but she never collapses into someone else's presence. Second, by allowing space. If someone pulls away, she does not follow with urgency. If someone is unsure, she does not try to convince them of her worth. She allows space to do its job, for space reveals priorities more clearly than words ever do. A connection that matters will move toward her without force. Third, by releasing expectation. Expectations create tension. Tension suffocates attraction. Letting go of rigid timelines or mental scripts allows connection to unfold at its natural pace. What grows from freedom becomes healthy. What grows from pressure becomes fragile. Fourth, by cultivating inner abundance. Clinging comes from emptiness. Detachment comes from fullness. When a woman fills her life with meaning, with learning, with exploration, with friendships, with inner work, she does not need another person to complete her story. She becomes someone others feel honored to stand beside. Remember this. A woman who does not cling becomes irresistible, not because she withholds affection, but because she holds herself with dignity. Her presence becomes a choice rather than a plea. Her energy becomes calm rather than chaotic. Her mystery becomes natural rather than fabricated. Non-attachment is the second habit that shapes a mature and magnetic presence. And as this inner foundation strengthens, something else emerges. Something visible, something felt, something expressed long before a single word is spoken. A style that reflects inner power. There is a kind of style that cannot be copied because it does not begin with clothing. It begins with identity. It rises from the deep interior of who a woman is and becomes visible through the way she adorns herself. A mature woman whose style emerges from inner clarity does not dress for the approval of others. She dresses to express who she has become. Her appearance becomes a reflection of authenticity, not imitation. The world teaches women that beauty is found in perfection, flawless skin, expensive garments, and trends that shift with every season. But a woman grounded in her inner world knows better. She understands that style is not decoration, it is alignment. It is the harmony between her essence and her outward expression. When this alignment exists, even simple clothing becomes compelling. Picture a woman entering a room with a quiet radiance. She may not wear anything extravagant, yet something about her feels intentional. She looks complete, as if every detail she chose reflects a deeper understanding of herself. She does not try to be the center of attention. She simply embodies herself fully, and people feel drawn to that authenticity. Why does this matter? Because the human mind reads visual cues instantly. Style communicates energy long before speech begins. It offers a glimpse into confidence, clarity, self-respect, and emotional maturity. When a woman's style mirrors her inner stability, something about her becomes unmistakably magnetic. Not because she tries to shine, but because she stops dimming. How does a woman cultivate this style that carries her essence? First, she understands her body. She honors the natural lines and curves she has been given. She does not dress to hide or to shrink. She chooses clothing that aligns with her shape, her comfort, and her inner rhythm. Style begins with acceptance. Second, she chooses colors intentionally. Colors carry mood. Red reflects strength. Black expresses depth. White radiates clarity. Earth tones ground the spirit. Blue brings calm intelligence. She chooses hues that align with the energy she wishes to embody that day. These choices subtly influence how others feel in her presence. Third, she honors the small details, her scent, her hair, her accessories, her overall expression, not as a performance, but as a ritual of self-respect. These details form an unspoken language that speaks softly yet powerfully, "I know myself." Fourth, she chooses comfort without compromising elegance. A woman who feels at ease in her clothing radiates confidence effortlessly. Discomfort creates tension, and tension dilutes presence. Ease amplifies it. Finally, she treats her style as an extension of her journey. Her appearance becomes a visual echo of the lessons she has learned, the challenges she has overcome, the self-respect she carries. She does not dress to mimic others, she dresses to honor herself. This kind of style cannot be forgotten. It is not costume, it is truth made visible. And once a woman masters this alignment between inner and outer, another layer of her irresistible presence begins to unfold. The soft yet powerful energy that draws others to her without effort. Feminine energy that magnetizes. There is a feminine energy that whispers rather than shouts, that pulls rather than pushes, that invites rather than demands. It does not strive for attention. It creates an atmosphere where attention naturally flows. This is the feminine energy of a mature woman who has learned the strength of softness and the power of stillness. Many misunderstand femininity. They assume it means being passive, weak, or overly agreeable. But true feminine energy is none of these things. It is not submission. It is not dependency. It is not fragility. True feminine energy is a quiet force. It is strength expressed without aggression, influence expressed without pressure, presence expressed without noise. It is the ability to remain grounded while staying open. It is the ability to inspire movement in others without losing one's center. A woman rooted in this kind of feminine energy does not chase. She allows. She does not force outcomes. She trusts timing. She does not try to control others. She controls her inner state, and this inner mastery creates a magnetic field around her, one that others feel immediately. Why does this energy attract so powerfully? Because it awakens something fundamental in the human psyche. It invites curiosity. It inspires protection. It stirs admiration. It encourages approach. It relaxes the mind and opens the heart. When a woman moves through life with softness instead of tension, with presence instead of haste, she becomes magnetic. Her gestures become fluid. Her voice becomes warm. Her energy becomes soothing. She speaks with intention. She listens with depth. She moves with a sense of quiet certainty. How does one cultivate this feminine magnetism? First, by slowing down. Feminine energy lives in stillness. When you rush, you disconnect from your intuitive center. Slowing down allows your natural magnetism to rise. Second, by softening communication. Power does not need volume. Presence does not need force. A soft, steady tone carries far more weight than a loud one. It invites connection rather than resistance. Third, by allowing others to take initiative. This is not passivity. It is trust in your own value. A woman who knows her worth does not chase. She lets others move toward her while she remains grounded in herself. Fourth, by cultivating emotional composure, she breathes before reacting. She speaks from clarity rather than impulse. Emotional steadiness is rare, and rarity is magnetic. Fifth, by inhabiting her body fully, gentle movements, fluid gestures, natural presence, these do not require effort. They arise from being comfortable in one's own skin. A woman aligned with her feminine energy becomes unforgettable, not because she performs, but because she resonates. Her presence feels like a calm ocean, vast, inviting, mysterious, and from here another rare art arises, mastery of conversation and mystery. There is a kind of woman who captivates not through loud stories or constant chatter, but through intentional presence. She understands that true depth in communication comes from the interplay between words and silence. She does not speak to impress. She speaks to connect. She does not interrupt silence out of discomfort. She allows space for curiosity to grow. A meaningful pause can be more compelling than a long explanation. A thoughtful gaze can reveal more than a rushed sentence. A well-chosen word can linger longer in the memory than 1,000 unnecessary details. This woman listens, not to hurry a response, but to understand. When she asks questions, they arise from genuine interest, not social obligation. She reveals herself slowly, never all at once. Her mystery is not an act. It is the natural result of someone who understands that depth cannot be poured out instantly. It must be discovered layer by layer. Her voice is calm, her presence is steady, her words are deliberate, her silences are magnetic. Her voice is calm, her presence is steady, her words are deliberate, her silences are magnetic. This mastery of conversation transforms her into someone who leaves an imprint on the minds of those who encounter her. She becomes the type of woman whose words linger long after the exchange ends, the kind whose quiet pauses make others lean in, the kind whose presence feels like an invitation to slow down and breathe more deeply. She does not overwhelm the space around her, she shapes it with intention. But conversation is not only about what she says, it is also about what she chooses not to reveal. She does not disclose her entire history in a single breath. She shares only what is appropriate for the moment. She allows her story to unfold naturally, like pages in a book meant to be savored rather than consumed all at once. This sense of mystery does not come from withholding out of fear. It comes from understanding that depth is not offered, it is discovered. A woman who communicates with this balance of expression and silence becomes unforgettable. She does not need to embellish her thoughts or dramatize her emotions. Her presence alone carries enough gravity to draw others in, and the more she leans into this grounded way of speaking, the more magnetic she becomes. She becomes someone people remember not because she raised her voice, but because she spoke from a place of clarity and intentionality. From here, we arrive at another habit that elevates a mature woman beyond the ordinary. Independence, the great aphrodisiac. There is a kind of woman whose presence feels complete even when she stands alone. She is not defined by companionship, though she welcomes it with grace. She does not attach her identity to another person, nor does she rely on attention to feel whole. This woman radiates independence, and that independence becomes one of the most powerful forms of attraction she carries. Independence does not mean she rejects love or lives in emotional isola. Instead, it means that her center remains steady whether someone stays or leaves. It means that relationships add to her life but do not define it. It means that her inner world is rich enough for her to stand firmly on her own feet. A mature woman understands this deeply. When she makes another person the entire foundation of her emotional life, she surrenders her power. But when she builds her foundation from within, anyone who enters her world must rise to match her. She does not crave someone to fill her emptiness. She invites someone who can appreciate her fullness. Why is independence so attractive? Because it communicates abundance, because it reveals maturity, because it shows that she knows how to live with purpose and not just attachment. The message it sends is simple and powerful. I want you, but I do not need you to survive. This is the energy that awakens admiration rather than obligation. It is the energy that transforms presence into privilege, not possession. How does a woman cultivate this independence? First, she holds a purpose larger than romance. She crafts a life enriched by goals, passions, and creative pursuits. A woman without purpose becomes consumed by a relationship because she has nothing else feeding her spirit. But a woman with clear intentions and ongoing growth radiates a different fire. Her life feels meaningful. Her energy feels alive. Second, she invests in her growth. A woman who continues learning and evolving becomes more interesting with time. Her wisdom deepens, her insight expands, her presence becomes layered with experience, and this depth cannot be replicated or replaced. Third, she maintains meaningful friendships and connections. Independence does not mean isolation. Connection strengthens a woman's emotional foundation. When her life is supported by healthy friendships and community, she does not lean on a romantic partner for every emotional need. Her world is balanced, Fourth, she protects her boundaries. A woman without boundaries loses herself quickly. A woman with boundaries stands rooted. She says no when something violates her values. She walks away from what harms her peace. She refuses to shrink for approval. This clarity communicates self-respect more powerfully than any speech could. Fifth, she practices emotional stability. She does not allow momentary emotions to destroy long-term self-respect. She knows how to pause, how to breathe, how to step back before reacting. This steadiness is rare, and rarity is always magnetic. Sixth, she builds a life she genuinely enjoys on her own. She visits places she loves. She follows hobbies that fulfill her. She experiences joy without needing anyone to witness it. A woman who enjoys her own kampa. Why carries an energy that is deeply attractive? Because it is rooted in inner peace. Independence is not about rejecting love. It is about rejecting the belief that love is the only source of worth. A woman who is whole within herself becomes a partner by choice, not necessity. She does not cling. She does not collapse. She stands beside others, not beneath them. And from this independence arises the final habit, the one that holds every other habit together with quiet power, emotional discipline, the secret weapon. There is a strength more enduring than beauty, more compelling than charm, and more transformative than temporary attraction. It is emotional discipline, the ability to feel deeply without losing balance, to face difficulty without breaking, to meet conflict without turning love into chaos. A mature woman who has cultivated emotional discipline becomes a source of stability, and stability is irresistible. Emotional discipline does not silence feelings. It does not forbid vulnerability. It does not turn the heart numb. Instead, it teaches the heart how to remain steady even when emotions rise like waves. It offers clarity when the mind wants to react impulsively. It creates space for wisdom to guide actions rather than fear or insecurity. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. When hurt, they lash out. When afraid, they cling. When insecure, they demand. But a woman with emotional discipline moves differently. She breathes before she speaks. She observes before she acts. She reflects before she decides. Her calmness is not avoidance, it is mastery. It is the strength to pause instead of explode, to communicate instead of accuse, to ask instead of assume. Her steadiness becomes a refuge, not just for herself but for those around her. Why is this so attractive? Because emotional stability creates safety, and safety is one of the deepest odds of attraction. In her presence, others feel less guarded. In her presence, communication flows more easily. In her presence, conflict becomes manageable rather than destructive. A woman with emotional discipline does not create storms, she brings clarity to them. How does she cultivate this discipline? First, she practices the pause. When upset, she steps back. She lets the initial surge of emotion settle before responding. This pause is wisdom in action. Second, she stops taking everything personally. She recognizes that others express their fears and insecurities. Their reactions are often not reflections of her worth. She sees situations clearly rather than through the distortion of emotion. Third, she sets boundaries calmly. She says what needs to be said, but without aggression. She defends her inner peace without destroying connection. Her voice remains firm, steady, and grounded. Fourth, she knows how to soothe herself. She does not depend on others to fix her emotions. She finds her own methods of returning to center, reflection, walking, writing, breathing. This self-soothing is what makes her emotionally self-sufficient. Fifth, she releases what she cannot control. She does not spiral into fear over uncertainty. She does not cling to rigid expectations. She understands that life unfolds in its own rhythm, and resisting that rhythm brings suffering. Sixth, she forgives herself. Emotional discipline grows through compassion, not punishment. She learns from mistakes without turning them into lifelong self-blame. She becomes softer with herself while becoming stronger within herself. Emotional discipline transforms a woman from reactive to radiant, from chaotic to harmonious, from insecure to grounded. This steadiness becomes her power, a quiet, undeniable strength that others trust immediately. And now we reach the final message of this journey. A mature woman is not defined by the softness of her skin or the number of years she has lived. She is defined by the quality of her energy, the clarity of her mind, the depth of her inner world. True attraction does not fade, it evolves. it becomes wiser, it becomes calmer, it becomes more powerful. You have now walked through 7 habits that shape a woman into someone truly unforgettable. Confidence before appearance, the strength of non-attachment, a style shaped by authenticity, the soft magnetism of feminine energy, mastery of conversation and mystery, the independence that awakens admiration, and the emotional discipline that holds everything together. None of these habits require perfection. They require presence, they require awareness, they require a commitment to choosing yourself every day. When a woman lives from her inner power, the world feels it. Her presence shifts the atmosphere. She becomes unforgettable without effort. She does not chase, she does not beg, she does not fear being alone. She trusts that love will find its way to those aligned with themselves. If you embody even one of these habits, your presence will evolve. If you embody all of them, your life will transform. Attractiveness is not an accident, it is the natural expression of inner work, and a woman who chooses to grow becomes more radiant with every passing day. Now, let me ask you, which of these 7 habits speaks to you most deeply? And which one will you begin to cultivate today? Your voice matters. Your journey matters. And this path of inner awakening has only just begun.